So this is the Marinwood CSD Board of Directors Tuesday, April 15th, 2025 meeting. We don't have anybody currently, we do have a public member, but you tend to not really go over your 3 minutes. So I'm going to skip that.
I might.
Okay, do it. You are very welcome to. I'm going to call the meeting to order for the Pledge of Allegiance. You guys can do it. I'm not stopping you guys.
Oh, I'm okay. I'm okay to work something.
Bill, would you like to?
I feel really bad about this.
Okay. All right. Let's go to the agenda. Any changes to the agenda?
No, it's all good.
All right. And we'll adopt the agenda as written. Consent calendar. Yeah. Any questions?
Move to approve.
All right.
Second.
Okay. Any questions from our esteemed audience tonight? Oh, all right. All those in favor?
Aye.
That looks unanimous, minus our two non-present. Public comment open for time for items not on the agenda.
I was just curious if there's any update on anything, but any of the ad hoc stuff, we've now, I think each of us have reached the 1,000 hour of mandatory hours in a year. So that's an extra 40 days plus of being told we're supposed to be here.
Right.
That means that's an extra 4 months of work with our schedule. It's getting a little out of control.
Sure.
We've been 2 people multiple days. We've got in the next 4 or 5 days with 2 people.
And Santa Fe's not sending that third person?
Today we do, but the next 3, 4, 5 days we don't.
Okay.
And then the last 3, 4, 5 days we haven't. So
All right.
just kind of curious. On
Right. I would
anything.
say
It just seems like it's. I know it's not.
Yeah, no,
It just seems forgotten about.
No, it's definitely. I will say it's definitely not forgotten about. I will let you guys speak over me if you want to, but I feel like we are. Eric, is it fair to say that we are awaiting them, or is it all the numbers are trying to get put together to have that first meeting?
I would say that we're pushing the matter as best we can on our side.
That's how I feel.
I wouldn't necessarily say we're awaiting anybody. I would just say that we're ready to talk.
Okay. Is that?
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
a letter was sent and.
Well, there's been quite a bit of back and forth. We're just trying to set up the next meeting.
I have a meeting set with a couple people over there tomorrow just to look at kind of a scope of services and cost drivers that we're actually talking about so that we can actually have any level of a financial analysis.
So there you go.
Yeah, it just seems like I said, it's for people that don't live it.
Right, I totally get it.
Like I said, it's it's starting to get to that point of like relationships and families
Right.
are, like I just got mandated for Easter. It's like, oh, awesome. I have to work holidays anyway, and now I have to work this. It's like, well, what are we doing here? It'd just be nice to have some updates from the board.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are you so the update that we have right now is the talks are ongoing. We're trying to set up meetings.
The talk's been ongoing for a year. Not a year.
Well,
but,
you're right.
You know what I mean? Like,
I think the part that you're referring to, the talks have been ongoing for, I would say, 2 months?
Well, yeah.
And we are moving as fast as we can. I know it doesn't help you or your family or the other guys and their families, and I apologize for that. But I can say that every time that we have gotten a communication from them, we have fired right back with, we are ready to go. Let's move this date up. Let's do everything that we can from our side. I don't, we can't make another government institution do something.
No, for sure.
Yeah. So.
But when they're not in charge of the Marinwood Fire Department.
That is true.
So.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like I said, there's been warning signs for years, and here we are.
And I think we have in our packet tonight that there's somebody that's coming on board. That's the plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's still mid-June.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's one guy.
Right.
Right. So it's.
Okay.
But like I said, it's just
It's a grind.
People are pretty frustrated, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, granted, we're thankful for the bunk room, but, you know, we're sleeping in offices and.
Right.
It's, yeah, like
Okay.
I said, it just, like I said, it's, I know we're not forgotten about, but it sure does feel like.
I hear it. All right.
That's it. Thank
Okay, yeah, no, I appreciate it. Okay, district matters, E1, second draft district operating budget for review.
Good. I gave you guys a fairly detailed
Yeah.
staff report leading into it. I won't kind of go over it all other than to say, you know, since the last time you saw this, it's had a lot of significant updates. It is, you can kind of see, I tried to list them out where we're at on everything here, what's been updated, what's still outstanding. Most of the things outstanding aren't gonna be entirely significant as opposed to what's already stated on there. So I think you have a pretty good understanding of where this likely is going to shake out. In terms of what a final budget would look like, a couple of the things I just wanted to touch on. And again, it's in the report, but for property tax, current secured, right now what I have is a 1% increase over what I'm anticipating to receive this year by end of year. That's typically kind of where I do it. The county had some information out that says they're expecting a decrease in overall property taxes over the next few years, starting with next year, so I try to remain conservative. Same thing on the pooled investment. Even though we're greatly outperforming what was budgeted to date right now, I, again, keep that conservative, keep it low. I've, you know, been kind of bitten by trying to raise that. You've got a very unstable investment market happening. Don't know how long that's going to occur. I wouldn't want to count on anything above kind of a bare minimum there, and then just hope you get more. And then for insurance, those have been updated with the estimates we've been given to date, but I do not think we're going to have final numbers until after the final budget approval. This happened last year, but we came pretty darn close to what they actually were. Work comp sprung up a little bit more than I anticipated last year, so I applied a little bit more of an increase factor to that, but I think we should be okay. Capital outlays are pretty minimal for this coming year. And then one of the big changes in the rec, just kind of looking at the actuals, and I'm still working with the rec staff, so this number might come down a little bit. We have a nice bump, a significant little increase to kind of marketing and recruiting costs on the rec side. A lot of that is kind of advertising, but it's also recruiting and everything else too. So I'm just trying to look at that from what are we spending, how are we trending. I've already started having those conversations with the rec director. And then on the fire side, the service contract revenue for the county facilities and for CSA 13, again, those are kind of placeholders. It's hard to predict what exactly that's going to be until we can reconcile out with the prior year. But I think that they should stay pretty close. And then a couple of accounts I've reduced down to zero. They were incredibly low, mostly tied to volunteer department activities that haven't seen any expenditures since that program kind of went on hiatus, so I decided we're just removing zero, and if something happens with that program, we can make those adjustments at that time.
Okay.
Otherwise, if there's any questions about anything, I'm happy to entertain them.
Lisa, any questions?
Any other questions?
Bill, any
I
questions?
have 0 questions.
Okay.
It looked good to me.
It's coming along. It's gonna come in a little bit lower than what we've done just in terms of a net revenue at the end of the year, but kind of anticipated that. Had some significant increases in costs, both, you know, wages, pension, those things go up fairly significantly. So it's what I expected it to be, but I think we're still in good line to have a comfortable budget going into the year. That definitely leaves some room for unforeseen actions.
Okay. All right. And I don't have any questions either. Anything from the public? Okay. E2, district manager report?
Sure. I already talked about it a little bit. The bunk room conversion project is coming along well. I anticipate that on the construction side to be completed by the end of this month. I think, you know, they've already gone through a couple of the inspections that they needed, passed through those. When I was in there yesterday, they were just kind of taping and mudding sheetrock, and I think, you know, getting ready to apply texture paint, and then it's getting pretty darn close from that point, just some final electrical work to be done. I want to definitely point out Caesar Correa, who kind of went above and beyond, and wiring up and making sure that all the mirror radios for dispatch were functioning properly in all the rooms. It gets a little bit tricky, but he has a good handle on it, so that's been done. And otherwise, it's coming along. I'm very happy with how it looks, how it's feeling. It definitely feels bigger than it looked on the plan, so I think it'll make a much better thing. I'm just trying now to herd some cats because the bed manufacturer isn't connected directly with the construction person. So I'm trying to get some good estimates of completion on the construction side so I can coordinate the bed guy to come in and finish up the beds and the Murphy beds that'll go in each room, 3 of them total in each room, as closely as I can, but they can still move in and be utilizing those rooms even before, or the mattresses from the beds or whatever. So it's getting close.
Okay.
I'll get back to the FEMA just while we're talking about fire. I do have a meeting later this week to kind of finalize what we're looking at for local fire prevention, veg management projects. Same types of treatment we've been doing. We have one new area that has yet to be treated that we're going to hopefully do some work to, and then some maintenance work, spot treatments in some larger areas that have already been treated. So that's coming, and I think I made a mention of it in here somewhere, but it sounds like possibly by around the end of next week, we'll have the goat herd starting.
Oh, cool.
So those will be back out there. The grasses are getting tall, but they're already starting to cure, so they said this is a good time to bring them in. They're using a different vendor this time, so it'll be interesting. They came in as the low bid on an RFP that went out for this. So it'd be the same person kind of doing the whole region, not just us, but a lot of Santa Fe, some of Southern Nevada. So that'll be good. And then I actually, on this note here, I know I talked about, we did put in a proposal to utilize core MWPA funds to do a large scale repair for Queenstone. I actually had conversation yesterday with one of the BCs from Marin County Fire, gave me a call, kind of following up on some much prior conversations. They are able and available, and it looks like hopefully by about the beginning to middle of May, they're gonna be able to come out and, if nothing else, do some interim work that will make that, right now the road's not passable to anything other than a small utility vehicle. But they will be able to help get it back into shape. They will provide the equipment, the operators, so all the labor. And I said we can cover the incidentals for that, which will mostly just be some materials just to make sure that road is passable for the fire season. Sure. And then hopefully MWPA approves this and we can get moving on a larger scale. I don't want to say permanent because there's nothing permanent about the fire roads, but a repair that last time we did something to this extent was back in 2017. So something that'll last you the next 5 to 10 years, depending on weather and everything else, all the proper drainage channels and everything. So hats off to Marin County for helping out with that. They certainly recognize the utility of that road, not only for our agency, but for a lot of different agencies that use it and recognize it's one of the more critical fire roads in the county. So that is good too. And then I did have a small update on the FEMA claim. Just to try to be concise about this, FEMA claims that they're broken into a bunch of different categories. The 2 categories that we are utilizing one is just called the emergency protective measures. So when the incident happens, the things you have to do immediately to try to prevent further damage. For us, that was just kind of tarping and doing some other work. Bringing in some other engineers. All of that's approved for distribution, so I'm expecting a little over $4,800 back on that, which is very minimal compared to what we spent. I was just happy to see some level of movement, and then I actually got a communication today just letting me know that it's still in the same place and they're trying to set up a site survey for on request of the Native American tribe that has jurisdiction over basically all of the North Bay at least.
Okay.
So that's where that is. I don't have, I responded and said I appreciate the update, but it's basically the same information we've had for the past several months now, and they said, I know. But we just want to know that we didn't forget about you entirely. So hopefully that still comes through, because that'll be a large reimbursement. Otherwise, everything else kind of in here. You guys know what's been going on, budget, trying to get talks going on the other side, so, and other projects. So other than that, any other questions, I'm happy to field those as well.
I don't have any. Yes? Nope. Alright. Item F1, consideration of appointment of fire commissioner for term ending December 31st, 2026.
Yeah, we currently have a vacant seat. That the term for that seat actually took effect on January 1st of this year and will expire on December 31st of next year. A local resident, gentleman named Pete Stout, attended a fire commission meeting not too long ago and has talked to me for a while about wanting to get involved in this. Just hasn't had the time or the availability, but he is able and available, and would very much like to be able to sit in on the commission. I would certainly recommend appointing him. I've known Pete for a little while. He's a very smart, very thoughtful person. He actually, if you read his letter, had a personal incident where they were displaced due to a house fire. He lives almost immediately across the street from one of our firefighters who happened to be off duty at the time, noticed it and was the first there with a couple fire extinguishers in hand, and 58 showed up. So he definitely has some stake in the game and a vested interest to want to try to come in and play a supportive role in any way that he can. And again, I certainly recommend him for appointment. I think he's a really smart, thoughtful person that will serve well in that capacity.
Great. Cool. Any questions?
Sounds good.
Any questions or comments from the public?
No, I mean, I can follow up with what Eric says. I mean, I've chatted with Pete for, even before the fire, and he just seemed very, thoughtful and interested, and seemed like just a really nice, genuine guy. So,
Cool.
I mean, I totally follow up with what Eric says.
We need more, maybe.
Right.
Yeah, that would fill it. That would still leave us with two vacant reserve spots. One for Marinwood and one for CSA 13, but that would fill all 5 of the regular seats.
Okay. We don't do a motion for an appointment, or we do? We
For
do.
these you do.
Yeah, all right,
Motion to
move
approve.
to appoint Mr. Pete Stout for
Second.
appointment to the fire commission.
All those in favor of the appointment?
Aye.
Unanimous from those that are here? All right, Mr. Stout, thank you very much for your service. Appreciate it. Item F2, Chief Officer Report and Activity Summary.
Oh yeah, I can touch on this just really quick. It was talked about a little bit earlier. We do have a new hire coming on. He starts May 1st. He's gonna go through a 2-week lateral academy. He does come in with some level of experience. I just got his final signed offer letter yesterday, so he's completed all the background, everything else. He is very excited to start. From this point on, he'll kind of be coordinating with Santa Fe. I think we'll probably wind up housing him for a couple weeks. He lives far enough away that driving back and forth for a Monday through Friday schedule doesn't make a lot of sense for him, so he'll probably wind up crashing here. Outside of his, the academy training is typically an 8 to 5, 5-day-a-week kind of setup. And then after 2 weeks, the BCs and the chief will make a assessment on if he needs a little bit more training before we can put him on an engine as a third. But ideally by, somewhere around mid-May, he should be coming in, so that'll give a little bit of relief to that
Great.
as well. Yeah, no, it's definitely great. Yeah, we're excited to get him on. Otherwise, if there's any other questions on this report, I can try to answer it or pass them along and get back to you.
Right through, it made sense to me.
Yeah, makes sense to me too.
Okay.
It's great news.
Perfect, yeah, all right, great. Okay, moving on to item G, Park and Recreation Matters. G1, draft minutes. Anybody have any questions about the Park and Rec Commission?
That would be,
No? Okay. It's all kind of falling into place this month.
This is pretty straightforward,
Yeah.
and a record time for that group.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
It's the only question I would have, and it's I didn't see it being reflected, but I could have missed it, are we still, we're still in the pilot for
Yes.
pickleball?
Mhm.
Are we gonna ride, like, do we have an end?
They want to
Do
run,
we
now
get-
that the weather's better, we're expecting more
Okay.
people out. Ultimately, it'll be back on the agenda for the May meeting.
Okay.
For Park and Rec, which will be at the end of May.
Sure.
You know, it's hard for us to get a lot of feedback outside of feedback that people go out of their way to give us. Again,
Right.
it's not like I can have somebody just kind of down there. And
Right.
I wish I had maybe an intern that just says, hey, sit here until somebody with a pickleball shows up and ask them their thoughts.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe they could, no, I'm not gonna bring that up.
but it should be kicking back up. So by all means, Chris, with your position at the school, if
Yeah.
you have any feedback from
Sure,
anybody,
sure, sure.
I know Luke was looking for. They've been doing a lot of research on options for different ways to temporarily kind of put the lines up. He actually got some good information from some vendors when they went to the CPRS conference last month. So
Perfect, right.
something a little bit more permanent and lasting. If they haven't done it already, I'm sure that'll be happening shortly after him getting back.
Okay.
They were pretty busy last week with spring break and everything else. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, the feedback is what you think from the people who want to play. They love it, and the hardcore tennis people are saying, yeah, it's not working out.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but I don't see any reason why we wouldn't look to this just to kind of be something.
Okay, cool. And I'm also noticing under their item 6, Commissioner Madden requested discussion of placing safety flags. Do you know what the crosswalk he's referring to?
He's talking about the crosswalk on Miller Creek Road where the walking paths connect, that kind of
Mhm.
goes over the median
Yep,
right there.
yep, I know that.
Not the
Okay.
one at Queenstone, but a little, it is a iffy one. Our concern, my concern is, traffic and safety and roadways are pretty far beyond our bailiwick, and the one thing I told him is that, if a bucket with flags on both sides kind of magically appeared, we wouldn't be the agency to take them out
Right.
per se, but I don't know that we're gonna be the agency to take them on
Right.
and put that in there.
Yeah.
It's kind of outside of our subject matter.
Right.
But I've been trying to do a little bit of digging. I know that there's at least 1 or 2 different intersections that have them in Sanderfell. So I'm trying to get a little bit of insight as to did Sanderfell put those up?
Right.
It's pretty low on the totem pole for the county roadway division to deal with or think about.
Right.
But we have expressed some level of concern to them that, hey, this is, particularly, but that's a tough crosswalk.
Oh, the one that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pathways that connect from,
I mean, I don't wanna be crass about this, but.
but you will.
I will. The pedestrian is supposed to have eyes open.
Right.
And if you can't see the cars coming or hear them, you better stop walking that path. I swear, crossing Miller Creek is easy. You can either hear the cars coming or see them.
Yeah, and
I've
we've done
walked
some
that,
work.
I can't tell you how many
Yeah. Yeah.
times.
I think it was us, maybe it was the county. We've done some work at kind of really trying to cut back a lot of the vegetation in the middle there. The county doesn't really want to touch that crosswalk because it's not ADA compliant. And you can never make it ADA compliant without completely digging through and redoing that entire median because it curves at the median on both sides. I'm not even 100% sure.
Well, it's a heavy slope there.
Right.
And if you're in a wheelchair going down that, you're never gonna stop at that.
Well,
If there's a car coming.
we're doing what we can, but I'm just being careful because again, it's not our property, it's
Right.
not our jurisdiction. Ryan certainly understands that, Ryan Madden. I just kind of looking, I don't disagree with the notion. I mean, by force of habit, any time of day or night when I'm driving by there,
With you.
I absolutely slow down and make sure that there's no people there. And sometimes to my detriment because the person behind me doesn't know what I'm doing or what's going on, but it's a challenging crosswalk, I
Yeah.
acknowledge that. It's a poor placement, it's poor visibility. You've got traffic completely separated going in both directions, and you got a hazard for the first half, and you got a hazard for the second
Right.
half. I don't know what we as an agency can necessarily do about it, other than try to make some other more proper agencies aware of the concern, but like I said, I'm certainly not advocating or suggesting, but if all of a sudden a private resident wanted to put these little things up with some orange flags on both
Right.
sides of it, I don't know that anybody would necessarily take them down. Eventually you might run out of orange flags, so those might not find the other bucket.
There's somebody that set that up in Terrell.
If you're at Scotty's Market, is it, and, so they're going down Freitas and then
It's
the
like Old
intersection.
Bernard Hoffman, it's Las Pavadas and whatever that cross street is.
Yeah,
In the,
So it's where the softball field is.
Yeah.
in the city, I know they have
Mhm.
flashing lights
Right.
that go off when the pedestrian hits the button.
Right.
And they're supposed to be flashing,
yeah.
both in the roadway
Right.
and on
Right.
either side.
I don't see the county
Especially on
investing in
blind
doing
spots.
something like that, given the fact that they would have to redo that entire crosswalk to make it ADA acceptable.
Right. It's been a while now. Well, how long ago was Mary Sackett elected? Was that like 2 years ago?
Probably somewhere around there.
So when she was running, I contacted her office on this exact thing, and to kind of do, like I was checking into the whole flashing light thing, because to me that makes a lot of sense.
Uh-huh.
I know that they don't do the flashing lights in the actual roadway anymore, because that's apparently a safety hazard, because people stop looking up, they look down. But the flashing lights now, if you notice at the more recent intersections, the flashing lights are
Signs.
overhead. Yes, it's signage, and then if it's a
It's
large
like in
enough
front of
intersection.
Kaiser, right over here. they have them
Right,
there.
right.
That one I see.
And so I spoke to her, she gave me the phone number for whatever is,
Roads.
yes. And she, as with most things in the government, it's like, hey, look, go make the phone call, it's not gonna happen overnight.
Right.
I think if this were to pick up some steam, the whole concept was if enough people called, it would have to get,
Right,
not that it would get immediately changed, but they would have to start paying attention to it.
yeah, yeah. But the other option is they just take the crosswalk out altogether.
Right. I mean, there's lines painted in the road. It's not really a crosswalk.
Right.
Right. It's I could take some spray paint out there.
Right.
Because like you said, the median is
Right.
their responsibility, and they're not giving us
Right.
a proper way to cross the road. So that's the way I see it. Is they're not doing their job. Not that we're not doing ours.
Right.
Right.
Oh, yeah, no, and the PNR commission understands that, they just,
Yeah.
and I've given them some advice on it. I would certainly reach out and contact the county, I'm happy to talk to them and just say, hey, this came up.
Right.
Expressed as a concern during one of our public meetings, not sure what, if anything, you guys will do about it, but I have passed it on.
Exactly.
Are you waiting for somebody to die?
Well, I try not to be too hyperbolic.
Right. Well, maybe when we bump into Mary at a future meeting,
Yeah.
that can be a side note.
Yeah.
It can happen.
It's going to happen, yes.
Maybe it'll come up tomorrow.
There you go. Item G2, Recreation and Park Maintenance Activity Report.
You have Luke's report. I don't know that I have a need to go through all this with you. I would say, they had spring break camp last week. I thought it went great. My kid was part of it. The kids here were having fun. They were in the pool every day, doing activities every day. The weather was fairly perfect for the week. And then the pool season is off and running, and that is going well as well. On the park side, I do want to point out that we actually do have a new hire that started on the park department on April 8th. So they are back up to being fully staffed. He's actually a young man who lives here locally in Marinwood. Seems to be doing great, has a really good attitude, is eager and excited, has some decent experience behind him. Yet still a lot to learn on how things roll around here. Otherwise, the guys have certainly been busy. We've had a bit of an issue with the water department that I'm trying to resolve with them, and they're trying to find some various leaks. Way back when the water department, without telling us, switched out our meter, which when they do that, they have to shut the water off, then they put in a new meter, and then they turn the water back on. Well, and this is all to the recycled water, the irrigation line. The park guys have a very specific way of doing that and making sure that the lines are open so all the pressure doesn't build and
Pop.
And well, what wound up happening was, and I gotta find time to go down there and have a chat with their customer service director. They did it like towards the beginning of a billing cycle, and then when we got the bill, it only had the meter reading for the first part, not after they changed it out. It's every 2 months. 2 months later, we got the next bill that was for an extended period of time, and it was significant. To the point where like, okay, there's gotta be, something is wrong here. And so I've been having some chats with them, and finally I actually had an engineer who was out there the other day doing something with the hydrant, and I just said, hey, got a minute? And I took about 30 minutes of his time and was explaining, and he said, yeah, you need to talk to this person, because ultimately I want the water department to have some level of accountability for this.
Absolutely.
Right.
At a bare minimum, they should have informed us they're doing this, when they're doing it, and our guys would. You can't just send that much pressure back through that pipe system without having relief coming out. It's way too much on all the joint, there's 1,000 couplings and miles of pipeline that go all around, so we've been trying to discern where something could have happened. The guys, they have a lot of shut-off valves along, so they just shut off the farthest one, and then shut off the next farthest, and then the next farthest, just to watch the water flow going through the meter. So they've been kind of digging up and trying to make some levels of repairs, because we're getting right to that point where they're gonna need to start irrigating again, so, but it was a shocking jump.
Gotcha.
In usage, so they're like, oh, you got a leak, I'm like, maybe, or maybe you didn't give me a good meter, or maybe, and then as we started to decipher this, I'm like, did they even tell you, so anyway, my complaint is, you need to do this in cooperation with us.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, the way you did it damaged our system.
Right.
So they should pay for it.
And they should work with us somehow on it, that's for sure, Bill.
Yeah.
And I pulled up the last couple years of billings for the same 2 different periods and said, it's very consistent.
Right.
This is our regular water usage, this is what happened after you changed the meter.
Right.
And it's like 3 times as much.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're talking about a lot, so.
Okay.
So hopefully we get some resolution on that.
Okay. And I can say, and I don't know the new gentleman's name, but I was riding my bike as he was kind of on his morning rounds with the garbage and things like that. And yes, attitude plus, it was awesome.
Yeah, no,
Like,
he's
he
gonna fit
was
in great.
Really chipper, like give me a nice huge hi hello, and he has no idea who I am. And,
Perfect.
But I even
You
said,
didn't
I don't do that.
mention
I did not.
who you were.
No. Well, my cape was flying behind me. So yes, please pass along that.
I will, yeah. no, they're
Unbeknownst to
excited.
him, there was somebody who, volunteers in the neighborhood that was really impressed with his attitude and the way he was going about things.
Yeah, he's been great. I've interacted with him several times. Tiffany's had interactions with him. Obviously, Luke and Esty and Marco are primarily the ones leading and guiding him. But just his attitude alone, he'll be fine.
Perfect.
He'll be fine. We can teach skills.
Right.
Right.
Okay. Item H, board member items of interest.
None for me right now.
I'm perplexed.
Okay.
Something new.
I would just say keeping track of the ad hoc committee that we're part of for
Yeah.
the fire
Yeah,
discussions with San Rafael.
I thought you addressed that well.
Yeah. It's great questions. I wouldn't want to work every day either. I totally get it.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that is still in such infancy stage. I'm meeting with them tomorrow, and hopefully we can get some clarity around, what the cost drivers are, that
Right.
we get some agreement on that, and then we can actually start to look at it, so I can say, okay, here's what I'm spending now on all that,
Right.
and we'll be able to go from there. But they have not been prepared with that information when I've met with them, so.
Right. And from my standpoint, I just want to appreciate you, because I know that as we have, as you said, with these beginning meetings with San Rafael, you are so well prepared and ready to go that even though it doesn't feel like it's moving fast at all, and I would agree with that, that we are not the ones that are slowing it down, that we're ready to go. We're being proactive, we're reaching out, we're availing ourselves in the morning, at night, on the weekends, whatever needs to happen so that this can move forward, because it's important to us.
Yeah, and I just also wanna make sure we set right now we're exploring if this is a feasible thing.
Totally.
This isn't, we're working, if this works and everybody can get on board with it, hooray. But we're not even close to knowing that yet.
No, but at the same time, I would love for it not to take longer because there are certain people that aren't ready to go and we are, so.
Well, hopefully we have a productive meeting tomorrow.
Cool. All right. I've got 7:30, I'll even call it 7:36, although it's not quite there. This meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Bless you.